on income calculations, just to cover basics. When I've been auditing lately, I've been coming across more issues with income not being calculated correctly, or maybe like at the wrong frequency. So we're just going to go over some of that. And then we'll do, I sent out like 30, I think, something pay stubs with the PowerPoint, and we'll just go through those, and I'll just like call on one of you to calculate. I think it takes a minute to think about it, maybe.
Yeah, how long? Oh.
All right. And then if I could just get, Griffin, since you're on the screen, just one of you, if you can read the mission of WIC.
To improve the health of low-income. Oh, God.
We can't read that part. We have something blocking it.
To improve the health of low-income women, children up to the age 5 who are at nutritional risk by providing nutritious foods to supplement diets, information on healthy eating, and referrals to health care.
Thank you. And like I said, we're just going to basically go over income calculations. This is the income guidelines for the current fiscal year, and it comes out, it changes every July. No, June? July. July 1, it changes. And of course, this is always based on gross. So if you ever give a copy to the client, you always want to make sure that, because it doesn't say anywhere on the income guidelines that it is gross, so you want to make sure that you explain that to them. And I actually found out the hard way that, like, look at weekly for a family of 3, it says $705. If it's exactly $705, it'll actually make them income ineligible. But if it was like $704.99, then they would be eligible. So this is actually like the cutoff. It's actually $1 or a penny less than that. Okay, so of course we know about adjunctive eligibility, and we know that there's 3 programs that make a client automatically eligible. The reason that I added this in is because I've actually been seeing where like the client has Medicaid and the Medicaid's in there, but we're obtaining pay stubs and trying to like calculate pay stubs. If the client is automatically eligible for WIC, you don't get pay stubs. You just let them self-declare and estimate their income. You shouldn't be doing any calculations. And really, because it doesn't matter what they make at that point anyway, like if they say, oh, well, my husband brings $1,450 every 2 weeks, and then I make $200, and I've seen people get the calculator out, and I mean, they're trying to get like this exact total. You don't have to do that. Just round up, just throw an estimate in there, because if they're adjunctively eligible, they're just going to self-declare an estimate or a guesstimate. If somebody can tell me in Carrollton what 3 programs make the client automatically eligible, so you would not be needing to obtain additional proof of income.
Medicaid, SNAP, and TANF.
Okay, thank you. And if somebody can tell me what's wrong with... What?
Nothing.
Oh. If somebody can tell me why we would not be able, like this is the Medicaid portal, you pull this up, why would you not be able to take this as automatic eligibility? And anybody in Henry can answer this for me.
That's speech care.
Thank you. And so you'll see when you pull up Medicaid, can you see my mouse? No. Yeah, there you are. Okay. When you pull up Medicaid, of course, presumptive, all the Medicaid, the presumptive Medicaid, and Peach Care is all going to look alike when you pull it up in the Medicaid portal, but you want to be looking right here that it doesn't say Peach Care. If it's Medicaid, it'll say Medicaid. And then, of course, somewhere over here, it'll say, like, if it is Medicaid for a prenatal, if it's presumptive, then, of course, you can't use it for address. But in this case, this is Peach Care for a child. You can't use that for income. Mom or dad or caregiver would need to provide proof of income to you. All right, and then just discussing net versus gross. So what is the difference between net and gross? That's not the way I wanted to do that. Okay, so for net, if Troop can tell me, net is before or after taxes?
Net is after, gross is before.
Right, thank you, Jerry. And
You're
WIC
welcome.
always uses, oh, sorry.
Gro-
Go ahead, what?
No, WIC always uses gross.
And so gross is before taxes are taken out or any other deductions. WIC always uses gross. And then I always say that, like, the word always in WIC is not always true because WIC always uses gross, but there technically is an exception to self-employment, which we're not going to go into today unless you want to. So you should always be taking the gross amount off of your pay stub. And that includes, like, if they're doing overtime or something like that, then that overtime is included in the gross amount if it's on that particular pay stub. All right, so this is just discussing frequencies. Now, of course, VHN, you can always enter things in weekly, monthly, or annually. So if something is biweekly or semi-monthly, you'll have to do the calculations and convert it. So for weekly means one time a week or every week. So every week they're getting a paycheck. Every Friday or every Wednesday they get a paycheck. You don't have to do any calculations with that because you can just enter the gross amount and enter it as a frequency of W, and VHN, it says monthly, it should say weekly right there. This is an error. It should say W for weekly. And if you were going to convert it, but you really don't have to, like you don't have to do the work, is you'd have to multiply it, the 4.33, it's like the never-ending threes. But the thing is that you can just let the system do it for you since you're allowed to enter it in as a W.
Kasey. Kasey.
Yes?
What about the formula? We went to a meeting, I think about 3 years ago, using another formula, the 24 weeks, 26 weeks. What I'm trying to say is, when we're calculating, we were told when we were calculating biweekly income, you would multiply that times 26 weeks. And if it's bi-monthly, it's times 24 weeks.
The thing is that
if you use the 2.15 or the 4.33, they're going to give you two different totals, slightly. So which one are we supposed to use?
you can convert the biweekly using the 2.15, and you wouldn't get counted off for that. And the other thing, was that meeting that you're talking about, was that one that the state did?
Yes.
Okay, because the state, see, not everybody's on VHN, and a lot of, well, I can't say a lot, but some of the districts actually have to use the income calculation form, and the procedures manual refers to it a lot, but we don't ever have to do that because VHN will do the calculations for us. Because the VHN always puts it into an annual amount on the cert form, regardless of what we put it in. So when the state refers to, converting, there was another thing too, I think it was less than 3 years ago, but there was something where the state was telling us that if you have, more than one source of income, you have to convert everybody to an annual amount and then add it up. You can't put one in as weekly and one as monthly or something like that. But it didn't apply to us because we have VHN. And in VHN, we have the one family income for multiple sources. And then we also have where it'll convert it to a monthly or an annual for us. So if you have a biweekly, you can do the 2.15, or you could just do the, is it 20?
No.
26, right? Yeah.
That's here.
26 weeks
Yeah.
times bi-weekly and bi-monthly times 24 weeks.
Yeah, times 24. So either one with the biweekly or the semi-monthly, either way, if you want to convert it to an annual or you want to convert it to a monthly, either way would be fine. But really, when it comes to like the weekly, I wouldn't do any calculations at all. I would just take the weekly amount and put it in as a W. But you're not, it's not going to be wrong as long as you do the conversion. You know what I mean? Like, it's not going to be wrong. If you take the weekly and you decide to multiply it by 52 and do an annual, that's fine. It's just actually kind of more work on the clerk's part. But it's completely up to you. So biweekly means every 2 weeks or every other week. And on the new hires, I get this answer told to me wrong a lot because there's confusion about biweekly or semi-monthly. Biweekly means every 2 weeks. So that's not how we get paid. We get paid twice a month. So that's not biweekly because there's our times that we don't get back up. Biweekly, sometimes they get 3 paychecks in a month. We would never experience that because we only get paid on the same 2 days every month. So biweekly would be every 2 weeks. Those are the ones where you can multiply it by the 2.15 and convert it as a monthly. Or like what Cynthia was saying, she just puts it in times the 26 and puts it in as an annual. And I just put up an example, like the easy way that I can tell biweekly is if I look at a calendar, like for example, if it says that the pay period on the pay stub was the 10th through the 23rd, the way I know that it's a biweekly looking at my calendar is I always know that biweekly is always going to go down 2 and over 1. So if it starts here, go down 2 and 1 over, that's a biweekly. So like if the pay stub went from the 15th to the 31st, that wouldn't be a biweekly. Your biweeklies are always going to go down 2 and over 1. Because the pay period goes from the 10th to the 23rd. And then the next pay period would start the 24th to the 6th. And then so forth. And it would just go every 2 weeks like that. And then semi-monthlies should be easy for us because that's what we get paid twice a month, or you could think of it as always the same 2 dates every month. And then Cynthia said, like, she'll just multiply it by 24 because you only get paid 24 times a year. And, or you could multiply the gross by 2 and enter it as a monthly. Monthly, sometimes you'll see that for like county workers or teachers. It's usually government somehow related or county related. They'll only get paid once a month. And then you'll also see it with the military. Their LES statements are a once a month total. And of course, you don't have to do any calculations with those. You could just enter it as a monthly. All right, since I just mentioned military, this is in the procedures manual under the certification section in the attachments. And so if you ever have a military statement, and I have one in the examples that we're going to go over next, anything that says do not count, you're just going to take that total completely off the gross. So if the gross on the military is like $4,000 and then BAH is for housing, it says they get paid, $1,000 for housing, you would actually take that $4,000 gross and minus the $1,000 off of it. So anything that says do not count, do not count, do not count, you're just going to subtract that total completely off the gross. And then the things that say here, divide by 12, clothing is one. I've seen clothing, but I haven't really seen, like the UEA, maybe not. It's mainly clothing that you'll see. That allotment comes out one time for the year. And so if the clothing is, say, $1,200 off that 1 month's pay stub, you can't take off the whole $1,200. You would actually divide it by 12, and then you could either add back in 1/12 of what that total was. So, like if I had an LES that was $4,000, there was housing, the BAH was $1,000. Now I'm down to $3,000. But then I saw clothing was in there for $1,200. I would actually take the $1,200 off of the $3,000. But then I would add in $100 back because I would add in 1/12 of that, 1 month's worth of the clothing. Do I have questions up to that point? Think about questions while I grab my bag. Hold on one second. All right, any questions up to that point? Do you have a question?
No, I never saw the clothes now. Or the, when I have this, I never saw the closing amount. No.
Paulita is just saying that the LESs that she's had, she's never seen clothing. I think I've seen it maybe once or twice, but you just need to make sure that if you do have it, that you're not leaving the whole amount on, but you're also not subtracting the whole amount off. I'm going to go ahead and close the PowerPoint up so I can pull up the examples that we have. So I just want to remind everybody, I don't know how that got moved, but it says don't forget your SurveyMonkeys and your sign-in sheets. And this time what I did is I just went ahead and attached the link in the email. Okay. So what I'm going to do is the pay stubs that I sent out, I'm going to randomly call on clinics and we'll just go through some, and you're basically just going to give me the income. Where's my mouse? All right. So the first one you should have, try to get it up here. It should say the SurePay, and we'll go in the same order that we scanned them. I think one of them, I was scanning from home. I was off yesterday. I think one of them maybe got duplicated because I had like a jam. So it says that there's 31, but I think there should only be 30. So if we run into a duplicate, we'll just pass it. I had kids running all around, so I couldn't really double check it. All right, so, and we'll just go down the line for right now. So Danielle, and we should all be looking at SurePay. If you can tell me what frequency this pay stub is in, and just give me your answer.
She gets paid twice a month.
Correct. And so, right here, you see that start date, that 9/16 to 9/30, that's a dead giveaway. Anything that's going to be like 16th through the 30th, or 16th through the 31st, or 1st through the 15th, that's usually a dead giveaway that it's going to be a semi-monthly. So, Danielle, that means that you're going to take that gross and multiply it by what?
2.
times 2. And what is her gross?
Her gross is 833.33.
Thank you. So this is what we're using right here, the 833. You would not be using the 715.43 because that obviously says net. And even though this doesn't say gross right here, it's before all of these tax deductions, and then she doesn't have any additional deductions, but it's before this 117.90 got taken out. Thank you. Okay, this next one, and this will be for Carrollton. Let me scroll down a little bit. This is the Fred Loya pay stub. And same thing, you're going to tell me the frequency and what the gross is. Make sure I'm giving the right.
Okay. I believe it is weekly. The frequency is weekly. And
Right.
The gross is 505.48.
And for the current period, the gross is 505.48.
And some of these, I don't, you'll have to let me know if I make it smaller, if y'all can still see. I don't know. Some of them are going to be hard to fit them all on the same page. But that's right. The gross right here is the 505.48. And it was weekly. Now this one is good because it actually tells you the beginning and the ending date, and that's a 7-day period, or a week's worth. But sometimes too, not all the time, but sometimes if you see it around 40 hours, 30, 40 hours, sometimes, not all the time, that'll kind of trigger you to double check and see if it's a weekly versus being like 80 hours. So yeah, this one is weekly, and okay, ooh, this one is small. This one didn't scan very well. I'm trying to make this one bigger maybe. But if you have it in your printout, it might be easier for you to see. I don't know how big I can go. Maybe like that. Okay, so this will be for Coweta. And it's going to be the same questions, the frequency and the gross.
Semi-monthly.
Yes. And then what's the gross?
The gross.
564.63.
564.63.
What's wrong with you guys? All right, so this is your gross right here, where it says
See
the
that?
earnings.
Just read to me. Mm-hmm.
And then, of course, it said the semi-monthly up here. But again, if it hadn't, it had the beginning date and the end date. That's another 16th through the 30th. So that would have been a way for you to tell also. Okay. This one, let's shrink it. Now this what you would be getting, not obviously as a pay stub, but because somebody was getting benefits like food stamps. So if I wanted, I gotta find it.
They don't have the amount.
Did I scan the wrong page?
Not what I put. Proof of residency, Medicaid, but no income show.
I scanned the wrong page. Caroline can tell you, like, my kids were so loud yesterday, it was ridiculous. I don't know.
546.
546?
Amount.
Paulina made up 546. This one, the back side, I think, is the one that has the income on it. But, you know, if you get these from DFAX or DHR, you know, it's going to tell you, like, your monthly, and then it'll tell you the benefits. Like, they get $347 a month. And then, you know, as long as one of these months is within your 30-day period, then you'd be able to use it. Sorry, guys. Okay, this one I should be able to make bigger. All right, so this will be for Fayette. And you're going to give me frequency
Kasey, I have a
and
question.
gross.
Kasey,
Yes?
I have a question about the food stamp one. A lot of times it'll have the amount they receive, and then it'll have their income amount. Do we put the income amount, or do we put the amount they receive in?
Yeah, I've seen that too. If they're getting the food stamps and you want to use it as public assistance for food stamps, then I would just put in their food stamp amount. But now if you included the income on the back, that'd be fine. But then you would technically have to add the two together since you're using the food stamp letter. You see what I'm saying? Like if it said, oh, you've reported that your household income is $1,200 a month. We're giving you $347 a month for food stamps. Technically, and they haven't dinged us for that before, but technically then, if you're going to be using it as food stamp letter, then you should be adding the two together. So if you just go with the food stamp amount, you wouldn't get dinged for not including the 12. So you've got flexibility there.
Okay, thanks.
On the 4th month. And that's it.
This one, doggy daycare, will, oh, it's a Fayette. How interesting. It'll be for Fayette.
You want to say?
Okay, it's bi-weekly, and the gross is 232.63.
Correct. So if it's bi-weekly, then we're going to take this amount right here, the 232.63, and multiply it by what?
2.
No. Bi-weekly.
Oh, 2.15.
Right. Or, like Cynthia said, she likes to do it by, convert it to an annual, and so that would be by 26. Oh, this one didn't come out very good. Now this one is, as you see, it's going to be Cobb County School System, so automatically I'm thinking one thing. And then this will be for Karen.
Looks like they get paid once a month, so you would use the gross of 1377.23.
Yep. And so she printed hers offline, so it's telling us here up at the top it's saying monthly. This is her gross. But then sometimes if it doesn't so blatantly tell you, then you should see something like this printout right here is really bad. It got crumpled, but it's like July 14th to like August, something around the same date range. Like a whole month's worth. It's going from one month to the next. All right. Gosh. These are like scans off of a scan. They're getting rougher. I'm hoping, what does it look like printed out?
That's okay.
Okay, so this one will be for Griffin.
This is the print.
Okay.
924.
920. What is that?
9/21, 2014 and 9/26, 2014.
The period ending is 9/21, but the pay date is 9/26.
Okay.
And then your hours right here say 79.80, and this gross amount right here is going to be the 1125.18. So Griffin, what is the frequency of this pay stub?
Kasey, we think it looks like it's weekly from the, according to the period ending date, and the pay date is a week.
Okay, 79.
Your ending date and your pay date, you don't want to use that to figure out your frequency because your period ending date, you don't have a beginning listed on it. You would need a beginning and an ending date to figure out your frequency.
Gotcha.
Because your pay date is always going to come, a couple days after the ending date anyway. But there's something else on
you
here
said
that
the
even though it's not giving us the
$80
beginning,
and 80 hours.
29 hours would be what, bi-weekly?
bi-weekly. And so do the 11, 25, 18, and then you do it times what for bi-weekly?
Times 2.15 or times 26.
Yeah. All right. Okay, the next one. Let's see if I can. Is that big enough?
I can do it because they say
I don't know. The next one will be for troop. Try to get
bigger. Suppose everybody have, but they say here.
Yeah.
Weekly,
Let's see how much. I might need to make it smaller. Make it. I'm gonna try to do it a little smaller so I can fit more on the page. If you have the printouts, it's probably easier.
We can't read the start date. We think it's twice a month.
9/20, 2014.
No, it's bi-weekly. It says it on there.
Yeah, it's gonna be bi-weekly. And then, of course, after that, you're looking for the word gross, basically, which is down here. The 7/1/93. Since you mentioned the start dates, I don't know. The 23rd? I can't tell them that. No. That's.
It's August.
It says 9/23 through 10/3. Payday
Okay.
10.
And then, if we have time at the end, I wanna pull up that calendar and show you something too, just in case. Like right here, it says pay frequency biweekly, but a lot of them aren't gonna do that for you. So we'll pull that calendar up at the end. All right, the next one, this will be for Megan and Upson.
Okay, it's bi-weekly, so it'd be 765.31 times 2.15.
All right. So here you've got pay period, you've got a beginning and an ending. And actually, let's hop to the calendar real quick. Hold on one second. Since those dates are clear, we'll use that one. Hold that thought. Okay. Ew. Okay, so that one was, what was it again? 9/7 to 9/20. So this will be, it's still the same concept, down and over one. It's just going to look a little different. So like I'm starting here on the 7th, and I go, if I went down 2 and over 1 day, that would be the 20th. So it is a biweekly, like she said, but that would be a way that I could like confirm it if I wasn't sure, or if it didn't blatantly say biweekly on it. So if I go down 2 weeks and over 1 day, so 7th through the 20th, it follows that same little process, and so it would also tell you that it's a biweekly. Okay. What'd you say the gross was, Megan?
765.31.
Yeah, so she's getting that right here. before any of these little deductions and taxes and all this other stuff comes out. So it's got a lot of clutter on this pay stub, but if you just simplify it, just look for your beginning, your ending, and your gross. You don't need to worry about all that other garbage. And then right here too, because a lot of times it'll give you totals like more than once on a pay stub. Right here it tells you gross as well for a current time period.
This is bad.
That's really bad.
That is only 1 week.
Okay. Oh, Paulita wants this one. You just said it. Okay, so Paulita said it's for 1 week. So she's looking at this pay period here, the 10th through the 16th, 1 week's worth. And what's our gross?
Let me find the gross. I don't find the gross here. It will be 336.
So here's your gross right here. It doesn't say gross up there, but you still know it because like that's her hours times her rate is the 336, and there's no deductions taken out at that point up there. All your deductions are down here. All right.
I did my homework, you know.
Henry, if you want to take this one,
It's the same.
Try to get it. I'm gonna scroll down. If you notice, there's a pay date here of the 17th. But that pay period ended on the 15th. I'm actually gonna scroll down because it doesn't give us a beginning there. So I'm gonna scroll down a little more. I think this will give you more info. And this one will be for Henry.
It's the 288.56.
It's weekly. It's 288.56 a week.
Okay, so here's your gross earnings, like she said, and so it's all these little totals added up. So the 288.56, that is her gross for this time period, and she said weekly. There's a couple things. There's a couple things here. If you look at her hours, it's kind of around that like 40 hour mark. So that's one giveaway, but just because they only work like 39 hours doesn't necessarily mean that it's weekly. Sometimes I have had bi-weeklies where they only work about 38, 39 hours. But down here at her work history, this would confirm it for you. She's only going from basically Wednesday to Tuesday. So she's got Wednesday, it covers Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. So it's only a week's worth, but out of that week, she only worked 4 days. But it's still only a week's worth because it's not going, like Wednesday through to the next Wednesday and then up to the next Tuesday. It's not 2 weeks worth of dates, if that makes any sense. So yeah, weekly. Okay, this one, I think, if this is the one, this is pretty straightforward, but we still get them wrong somehow. So this one right here, and Cynthia, I'll just go ahead and give this one for you, if you could do this one for me. This is actually an employee letter. Oh.
Yeah, this is assuming he's paid in cash.
Right.
So no taxes or anything is taken out. And you can easily just insert this $350 in the VHS-H screen as weekly, and it'll calculate for you. But if we calculate it, it will probably round off to a little over $1,500 a month.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing
we still have to calculate it though, still.
Right. Well, if you want to just put it in as a W, you won't have to. You could just put it in as a 350W. That would be fine.
Yes.
And the thing with the employee letters is I think most of the time they're pretty straightforward. But I know that somebody called me about one the other day, and it actually said like we pay her $256 something after taxes, and then no, you couldn't use it because it's specifically telling you that it's net, and so you wouldn't be able to use it. But like she said in this one, you're assuming with this type of employee letter that they're paid cash, and so you're taking that as a gross amount. All right. Wait, you want this one too?
No.
Oh. Okay, so, what? Who am I missing?
No.
Nobody? Guys, I'm so confused now with all the, like, I don't know what's what with the changes. Alright, well, let's just go back up to Danielle. So, same thing, frequency.
Her begin date's 11/12 and her end date's 11/25, so it's going to be bi-weekly.
Right.
And her total amount is 603.08.
Right. So, like she said, and then also, this one is actually interesting because it breaks it down. It actually tells you the 12th through the 18th and the 19th through the 25th. So it gives you 2 weeks worth actually broken down, which a lot of them don't. And then if you wanted to look at, like, let's say it didn't have that and you didn't obviously, like, see 2 weeks worth of pay, the 12th through the 25th, and it'd be, like, I know this is September, but it's still the same date range. So if it went from the 12th through 25th, you're starting here on the 12th. You'd go 2 weeks down and 1 day over, so 12th through 25th. So that's another dead giveaway that it's going to be bi-weekly. All right, and then this one here, try to make it a little smaller. This will be for Carrollton.
It's, let's see. It has, I would say it's weekly. Wait, no, let me see. It's the 10th, the 12th through the 19th. I would say it's weekly. And the gross pay would be $1,598.
Your gross is right, but your frequency is actually incorrect. So your gross is good. It's $1,598, and it actually tells you here too. Taxable gross is the $1,598, so that's correct. But it's actually, this pay stub is 2 weeks worth. She worked the week of the 12th, and you'll know. Come on. All right, she worked the week of the 12th. That's this first line item right here. And this was her regular 40 hours. Okay? But then she had some overtime. She worked an additional 30 hours. So she actually worked 70 hours just in that. I mean, this chick is working. Like, she wore me out reading this pay stub. She's working a lot. She worked an extra 30 hours. But then on the 19th, which starts another week, she did another 40 hours regular and another 30 hours of overtime. So this is actually 2 weeks worth on one pay stub. So it's going to be, since it's 2 weeks worth, it's going to be bi-weekly. So her pay stub would actually be this $1,598 and then times the 2.15 for bi-weekly. All right, and then Coweta. I go bigger, I think it might just go lighter. Maybe. Okay. So this one will be for Coweta.
Twice a month.
Yes. And then what's your gross?
488.30, which has to be divided times 2.
Yeah, or multiplied times 2.
I mean, multiply is what I meant.
I think it might actually be a 90, but it's okay. I mean, like, you would have the actual pay stub, and it would be a clearer print for you. I think, right? 90. And then you're seeing this like 16th through the 31st. That's again, it'd be like the 1st through the 15th, 16th through the 31st. Another giveaway that it would be twice a month. Oh,
Kasey.
This might be where I messed up.
Kasey,
Yes.
quick question. In the case where there's a gross and a taxable gross, which one do we use?
I don't know what you said.
Oh, this one, yeah, that's fine. You're gonna go with your gross, like your.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
This is actually the LES. I don't know if this is where. Let me see. Flip it. Okay, so the LES is going to be, and if you have your PowerPoint, you might want to flip to. I'm going to go ahead and give this to. Let's do Henry because you guys have a lot of hands on board. This is going to be the LES, and of course, you'll need to look at your inclusions.
The only thing you're going to deduct on this one is the BAH. Everything else is to be counted.
Okay.
So your new gross total is the 3540.05.
35.
Rebecca's on it. All right. So what she did is, and I know this one is how is it on yours? Okay, so you take this amount right here. This is the gross for the month. And then she said everything else is counted except the BAH. And this is the amount that she's deducting right here. So she's taking off the BAH. If you look at your military inclusions and exclusions, everything else, base pay, BAS, special duty, all of that says to be counted. And so the military statements, they're always going to, I haven't seen one that doesn't look like this, but it says leave and earning statements, which is where they're getting LES from. And then you'll just know that you'll need your, why are they all backwards now? Gosh. That they're, yeah, I don't.
You can use mine.
That's right. Let me go back.
Kasey.
That you'll need to look at your exclusions and your inclusions and then do your subtractions.
Kasey.
Yes.
While we're on the subject of exclusions, I want to ask about the cents on the dollar. Sometimes it can make a difference between a client being eligible or not. At one point, I thought I heard that we don't have to calculate the cents.
You're going to include your cents, but you're not going to round. Like, you'll never... Like if the pay stub itself is like, let's look at this one. This one is a weekly. It says here, it actually gives it to you weekly, but then if you look at your beginning and your end date, it's a week's worth of pay. And then the gross, for this one is your 430 right here. So like let's say you were going to calculate it times the 4.33 and you got something like I don't know. I don't want to give you a bogus. Hold on. Like, I would include the 30 cents, but if I have to do calculations like a biweekly, or I'm converting it and I get something like, this one would come to 0.299, they don't want you, like most of us would go, oh, I need to round. So if it said 0.299, oh, I need to do 30 cents or round it up or something like that. And they don't want you to do that. So just take your first 2 decimal points. Don't round up or down or do anything with that third digit. So that is one thing. So yes, you do want to include the cents when you're doing your calculations, but don't do any rounding up or down. If you ever get like the 3-digit decimals.
Thank you.
Okay, this one, I just want to go over this one real quick. This is a Social Security for the month. So Social Security is going to be a monthly, it's going to be a monthly amount. But the one that's tricky about this, and most of it is going to have all the information on one page, but it's telling her that your SSI payments, where it says right here in bold, it's saying that the amount that you'll be getting in January will be $163, but that's not what her income is for the month. It actually says that the following income was used to figure out her payments, and she's already getting Social Security like benefits for $590, and it'll be increasing. So it'll be the $590 plus her additional SSI payment of the $163, which is $753. So it'd be $753 a month. So just make sure when you're using like these letters and things like that, that you just kind of skim through it and find all the information you need. And then this would be a monthly amount. The $753 would be monthly.
Kasey.
Yes.
We have a question regarding this one. The income is beginning in January.
So would you add the 163 to the income now, since it's not something that they're currently receiving?
I see what you're saying. Because technically income is for the previous 30 days, like income that you made within the previous 30 days. So if you had done, like it's a November statement, if you're using it in December, if you did just the $590, then that would be fine. You wouldn't get deducted off of not including the $163. But it wouldn't be the $163 alone, like by itself. So that was a good catch. And let's try to squeeze one more in. This one here, and Megan, if you can just do this one for me real quick for Shackelford.
It's bi-weekly, and it's $34.
Okay, so the 3rd through the 16th, 2-week period. You could do it on the calendar again, like we did with the others. 3rd, I'm going down 2 weeks and over 1 day, so 3rd through the 16th, bi-weekly. I added some more in there. I just wanted to make sure we had like extras, but they're basically going to be very similar. I don't think there's anything else in here that was. It's like this is another beginning and ending date. It has a beginning and ending date. This one right here, the period start date and end date is the 17th through the 30th. And so this one actually is also going to be a biweekly. You go 17th down to over 1. So this one for the daycare, it kind of, if you look at it quickly, it might look like it's a semi-monthly, but it's actually a bi-weekly. The semi-monthly should have gone like the 16th through the 30th. So that one might be a tricky one. So this one would be times a 2.15. And if you run through any of the others, and I just try to do like multiple examples of different ones. But if you have any questions about the others, you can ask me. But like this one says that it's weekly, so that's going to be a dead giveaway.
Kasey, I have one random question for you, really fast.
Yeah.
All of these statements seem to have some personal information on them. Do we need to shred them when we're done?
Yeah, and actually should have.
Some people like to save things.
Say the last part because I didn't hear you.
I said some people like to save things, and I would think that this would be a HIPAA issue.
You definitely don't want to take them home. If you're saving them in the clinic, it shouldn't be an issue. But I wouldn't be taking them home. Or you can black out the names.
Okay, thank you.
¿Y está hablando de llevar
Kasey.
HIPAA, the names.
Yes.
Look at that precise janitorial supplies. The employee quick report.
Is it back or is it in the future?
It's.
Oh, here, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah. This one
Explain
is tricky
that.
because if you look, her dates are kind of like all over the place. It's not like patterned. It's not twice a month. It's really like all over the place. So what you want to do is you would take income, whatever income was made within the last 30 days. So like let's say she came in, I don't know when she brought it to the clinic. Obviously right now it would be too old to use anyway, but I think it was presented sometime at the end of November. And so let's say she brought it in on November the 29th. You would want to include just income over the last 30 days worth. So it'd be
700.
well, not the 29th, that's too far out because she would have had another one. But let's say she brought it in on like November the 5th. So you would actually include all three of these. Because she gets paid all over the place, like she doesn't have she gets paid like as the work is done. And so you would include 30 days worth of income. So if she presented it on the 5th, you would include actually $2,100. You'd include that whole 30 days worth of income. And this one is an exception. You don't usually see stuff like this. But if you notice up here, it says accrual basis. So just like as she does the work, she gets paid for it. She's not getting like a check every 2 weeks or every week or anything like that.
Okay, I had never seen one. That's why I was asking.
Yeah, yeah. But this one would be, more on the unusual side. That was a good question. Do we have any other questions up to that point? And of course, if you think of anything after the fact, like you look at something and it doesn't look right, or, you can always email me or ask me later. If you think about something down the road. I guess does anybody have any questions? No? All right. I will say that a lot of times, like sometimes people will need me to look at a pay stub or a letter or something like that. You can shoot me a picture of it because I don't like assuming. So I like to see it myself just because of like the dates and things like that. But if you shoot me a picture, then that usually works. I can look at it right then and tell you. I can, whatever, look at it. I guess if we don't have any questions, we'll wrap it up. I hope everybody had a good holiday. And we have another day off coming up. So Happy New Year, and I'll see some of you guys later.